Afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the one day virtual stage. My co host Abram is fixing a technical issue. So you get me today. Welcome. I'm Matthew, and we have two very, very lovely guests today. I'm super excited. We've been talking a bit behind the scenes before we started, and feels like it's going to be a really lovely, just really gentle day today, just from what I've heard so far. And I'm looking forward to it. And I believe it looks like Abram is ready to come join us now finally. So let's bring him up and see what's going on. Are you ready? Oh, you're muted, man. I can't hear you. Still muted. What's going on, buddy?
Sorry about that.
There
I
we
am
are.
so glad to have our guest joining us today. Been working on a few technical difficulties, but that doesn't take away from these amazing shares. I'm really excited. We got an artist. We got some meditation going on. But I'm super excited. This has been. I think we've reached a month of this virtual stage, and we've had so many amazing people share their story and just who they are, and it's been so, for me it's been humbling, but it's been transformative just to hear the stories of of how they got here and where they're going, and despite the craziness of the COVID situation, people are still shining in their light, and that's why we're doing this stage. And I'm really excited to have our guests. First and foremost, I'd like to invite Dawn to the stage. Hi, Dawn.
Hi,
Thank you for
Dawn.
joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. I'm really looking
Well,
forward to it.
We're very excited to have you. And without further ado, the stage is yours, Dawn.
Thank you so much. I'm Dawn Meyer. I am a life possibilities expert. I'm a energy healer, and I'm also a former NASA rocket scientist. Now, what does that mean? Well, when I was a little girl, I wanted to be a couple of things. One was the first woman on the moon, and the second was someone who could heal people with her hands the way I had seen in sci-fi movies. Now, you may or may not have noticed that I haven't walked on the moon yet. However, as I said, I was a NASA rocket scientist, meaning that I worked on the NASA space shuttle for over 2 decades, which was a phenomenal part of history. And now I heal people with my hands through energy healing and coaching, which is, again, another phenomenal experience. Now, to many people, that may seem pretty weird and pretty far out there. A huge leap from rocket scientist to energy healer. And yet, to me, it made absolutely perfect sense. It was perfectly logical. Because rocket science is about knowing that something different and something amazing is possible that not everybody else can see. It's about not letting the people who say that it's a waste of money and time stop you from your dreams. Now, having said that, it almost didn't happen. I almost didn't apply for my job at the Kennedy Space Center on the space shuttle program. You see, when I got out of college, my husband, or my first husband, and I were visiting his parents here in Florida, which is where I live right now, for Christmas. At that time, we were living in Indiana. And I was going through the Sunday newspaper, and I came across this amazing full-page ad with a gorgeous picture of the space shuttle launching. And they were looking for software engineers, which happened to have been my major when I was in college. And I looked at it and I said to my in-laws and my husband, I said, yeah, that would be really nice, but I can't do all the things that are in this ad, so I'm not going to apply. And they looked at me like I was nuts. They said, what do you mean you're not going to apply? What have you got to lose go for it. Now that struck a nerve in me. What did I have to lose? I mean, my goodness, this was my dream to work on the space program. Since I was a little girl, I had wanted that. And like a sign from God, there was an ad asking for software engineers. I mean, it was obviously put there for me, right? How could I not apply? So again, I asked myself, what did I have to lose? What was stopping me? I mean, even if I didn't get the job, I still had my job and my house and everything back in Indiana. And then it hit me. What was stopping me was my pride. I didn't want to be rejected. I didn't want to fail at being hired. Yeah, so I agreed with them. What did I have to lose? Now was the time for me to go for it. So I put aside those fears and I applied for the job. And I got flown down to Florida for an interview. And I was working on the space shuttle program by March. Now, had I stayed in that fear of failure and that fear of rejection, I would never have been a part of space shuttle history. So I tell you, when you are considering not doing something, ask yourself, what have you got to lose? It might be time for you to go for it. Now, the thing is that go for it is part of a system of transformation that I use with people called possibility principles. I took everything that I had that I learned on the space shuttle program and everything from recovering from my divorce from my first husband and everything from shifting from rocket scientist to energy healer and life possibilities expert, and I created these to assist people to get in touch with what they would like to have in their life and create a roadmap for getting there. And yeah, they're rocket science because they're simple and direct and they can launch you into a true shift in your life. So this is principle number 7, go for it. It's about letting go of those fears of failing, those fears of being rejected, and allowing yourself to go for your dreams, to stop postponing those dreams. Don't get stuck in that silliness about it. You're too old, too young, too short, not schooled enough, you've got kids and all that stuff, so you can't make changes in your life and you can't get to what you desire. Because that's not what really is stopping you. It's about the belief that those limit you. That's what stops you. See, I went for it. I reached for what I wanted. I allowed the possibility that I would fail. I didn't let that stop me. I didn't wait for the right circumstances, the right education, the right schedule, all that stuff. I took a chance. I often tell people that, you can't wait for all of the stoplights to be green before you leave the house because something's going to change. So stop waiting on alignment. It's time for you to go for it. And yeah, maybe you need to give yourself permission, which is principle number 5. A lot of times we get stuck in that. We can't have it. We don't believe that we can do it. We can't give ourselves permission to be ourselves, to dream, to enjoy life, to be happy. Because see, the thing about not giving yourself permission is you can sit around on the sidelines and wait and hope that someone's going to give you permission to come play. Or you can give yourself permission to dive in. You see, it's your choice. You can wait around for other people to give you permission to pursue your dreams, or you can give yourself permission to take that first step and then go for it. Now, when I was telling you that other story, about how I almost didn't apply for my job at the Space Center because I didn't want to be rejected. Now I'd like to tell you the other half of that story, about the screw up that led to all of it. You see, when I was graduating from college, I had this interview with this really good engineering firm to be an intern. And my interview was going really well until the guy asked me, "Where do you see yourself in 5 years?" I told him I saw myself in Florida because, well, in my head, that'd be closer to the space shuttle program, right? Well, my interview was pretty much over at that point. He thanked me and he showed me out the door. I was so upset that I had screwed up that interview. And that upset stayed with me for weeks. I ended up taking a job that wasn't what I wanted to do because I needed to start getting some money come in. So now fast forward to December and my desire to come see my in-laws at Christmas, right? I went in and I told my supervisor I wanted to take the week off. He said, sure. And I told people that I was taking the week off, and they were not happy about that. They wanted to know why I could take time off because, well, I didn't know that not everybody could take Christmas off. I had just asked for that time off. I asked for what I wanted and I got it. It was not a popular thing, but the thing is, it takes me to possibility principle number 2, which is break down to break through. Having gratitude for the difficult times, the screw-ups, the dark times in your life. How can you do that? Well, what usually happens is that often leads to much better things. You see, had I gotten that engineering firm job, they probably would never have allowed me to take Christmas off, which means I would not have been in Florida to see the Sunday paper with the ad for the software engineers for the space shuttle program, and I would never have worked on the program for over 28 years. Yeah, my screw up led me to my space shuttle job. You see, so often you discover that on the other side of something difficult, or maybe even deep within it, is that silver lining that will create something even better than what you wanted. The difficult times often move us faster forward than what we think, or than anything else would. Sometimes it helps to show us how strong we are, how resilient we are, how amazing we are. A lot of times it shows you who has your back and who doesn't. And sometimes it allows you to let go of the situations and people and things in your life that really aren't helping you out any. Or it may be like me. It allows you to be exactly where you need to be when you need to be there. And I was. So I invite you to get in touch with what it is you'd like to have in your life. For a minute, just sit here and say, okay, what is it that I would like to have in and as my life? You can close your eyes and envision what it is. Envision that life you would like to have. Get those images in your mind. Start asking yourself, what is it that keeps you from reaching for that? What is it that keeps you from giving yourself permission to have that? Take note of it. Take note of what you want and what keeps you from getting there. Go ahead and open your eyes. You can write those things down, or at least remember them, because really, and this is a quote from me, so many things are possible once you stop believing they're impossible. Yeah, it's true. So many things are possible once you stop believing they're impossible. So I ask you, what have you decided is impossible that might actually be possible for you now? And yes, I know we're in the middle of, well, I'll say it, craziness right now. But start looking at what it's showing you. What things are important to you now? What things do you require? What things don't you require? And see what you'd like your life to be now. Because we all have a different chance now. We're stepping forward into the unknown. We don't know what's going to be coming our way. What would you like to take with you? And what would you like to leave behind? And I ask you, keep going for your dreams and your possibilities. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you so much, Dawn, for sharing your presence and your
Oops.
that wants to be part of the she wants to share in the virtual stage.
There you go.
Your presence is very calming, just hearing you speak. And there's you said a lot of very profound things that really struck me. And one thing is what you're talking about. One thing I've observed in some conversations I've had, some dear friends of mine, is that the most important, valuable things that happen in our life usually aren't the things that we planned. They're usually something that happens on the side along that path of us aiming towards what we planned. It's, and I've realized I feel that's universal, because when we set our sights on, it's good to have goals, it's good to have dreams. When we set our sights on it, the outcome, it won't necessarily be the outcome won't necessarily be what we expect it to be. But usually the most beautiful things and the most valuable things come from what we didn't expect. So a door that opened up along the way because of something that happened or something that we didn't have control over. And I think there's so much freedom and peace in that space of living life. And it's an ebb and flow. The most beautiful things happen when we accept what is, but also when we are willing to be open to the possibility itself, where we don't know what's going to happen, and something beautiful can happen even when we jump into that the unknown darkness, figuratively speaking. The unknown has scary things, but it also has beautiful things.
Yeah, I always tell people to ask the universe for what else is possible.
Mm-hmm.
What am I not seeing that's possible here that I didn't consider? And let the universe show you the doors that are opening up now. And I invite you to listen for the whispers of possibility of the universe saying, turn right, not left. Mm-hmm. Go forward, not backwards. All those things where you're not allowing the universe to lead you, the God source universe, to show you what else is out there for you, because there's a whole smorgasbord and you're sitting there looking at the main dish and that's it.
Yeah, exactly. The last couple of months, I've fallen more and more into
Matthew, we can't hear you if you're sharing.
I can hear him a little bit. It's a little echoey.
Well, that's just fun.
A little bit. It's one of those days. A little bit of technical difficulties.
It is apparently one of those days. Let me try.
Try again, Matthew.
Is that any better?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We'll do both buttons. I'll just do it myself. How about that? Um, so yeah, it's just like that, trusting the heart first, and the reasons come later. Like I don't ask why I do anything anymore. I stopped doing that. I just trust this, and then the reasons come after, and the reasons are often conversations like this, or like just moments that I never could have imagined happening any other way. Like just um, it's like stepping into this deep river, and life just carries me along, and everything that happens, as long as I trust, is just extraordinary. And it doesn't like it doesn't seem to matter exactly what I trust, as long as it's that life is going to work out, that I'm going to be okay, that everything is going to be fine. Like that seems to be it. I don't know, but I appreciate that. How did you say it exactly? So many things become possible when you stop believing what's impossible.
Yeah,
So
once you
that,
stop believing that those things are impossible.
yes, yeah, exactly. And I just love that invitation to possibility. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing, Don. I really I found it very powerful what you just who you are as you're sharing and as you're speaking. It's like I said before, it's very calming and it's very peaceful, and it has a power that speaks to who I am deep down, and I really appreciate your sharing your story. You know, it's so funny the accident that opened up your life with all these, like how you just made that one turn and then you ended up, applying for that job, and things opened up. And I think that's miraculous, and that you're here to share this empowering conversation with us. I'm very grateful that you joined us. So thank you for being with us, and I hope you will come and share with us again soon in the future.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Don. And thank you all tuning in with us. We here at One Day are here to have a space for you to share and for your neighbor to share, for us to see each other in our neighbors. And, when we actually show up as humans, not as labels, but as humans and as possibility, that's when we can collaborate and do beautiful things together. And that's why our mission here is bringing you and I and communities together in joyous celebration, unifying humanity in our diversity to create a better world for us all. That's why we're here. And that's why we're sharing this space. One conversation and one story at a time. If you would like to share on the stage, we invite you and we encourage you. You can follow the link at the bottom of the screen. Also on the bottom of the page here, you should see a link to share on the stage. But if you want to be a part of One Day, just share your story with us, and you really contribute to us all. But up next, I'm really excited about this share. We have Debra. Hi, Debra.
Hi, how are you?
Doing fantastic.
Awesome.
How are you today?
Excellent.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, I see a beautiful piece of artwork behind you, so I'm just going to let you share about it. So,
Okay.
Debra Lee Murrow, stage is yours.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me here today. So I am a fine artist. I'm also an art coach, an author. I'm starting to publish some books. So in short, I have a line of coloring, postcards, canvases, necklaces. I platform out black and white art for people to create over. So not always did this, so the journey totally is fun, crazy, hard, experiential. So all of the above, right? So I started out as in corporate life, and I said, I don't like this. I want to take a leap. What do I do? So I had a phone job, and everybody said, "Oh, you should do voiceovers." I'm like, "Oh, that's a great idea." So left a life in Massachusetts, to go to New York City to explore my God-given natural talents and abilities. Always did art as a kid, always doing art in my 20s. This was in my late 20s, keeping art on the side. And I did I got my picture taken, I tried singing, got my voiceover tape going. All the while, it took pretty much came out to be about 3 years. I was reading furiously, visiting all sorts of churches, trying to figure out what's going on, what's happening, what should I explore, meeting people, working odd jobs in the waitress bartending area, just pop around New York City, just exploring being with me, myself, and I, because I never have. I went from the baby of 5 girls to college, got married in college at a very young age, and had that life, and just was not satisfied with that. A little backtrack on the jobs. I went into college for travel tourism, and wanted to travel. Got into that industry, no pay, so I got out. Got into customer service, totally bored. And then I got into sales, and that's when I really shined. I really, my dad was in sales, so it was really more who I was. So when I got to the end of that, it was either going to training, which now I realize that was the teacher gifting in me coming out, or doing my own thing. So that's when I said, oh, let me try and do my own thing. So I go down to New York City, and I'm reading, and one day I woke up and had this aha moment of the revelation of the power of words. And that's where my art came in. I stumbled upon this phenomenal pen brush, and this art that I was doing on the side came focused, came front and center. And I started doing word art. So all my art is words and phrases, and it was very healing. The journey in that, I just kept doing all these things. And then I had these the series of card series, and I would take someone's name. I would take Abram is love, or Karen is love, and I did those cards about this size, all these black and white lines, and my girlfriend colored them, and then the color me birthed. So then it really materialized into a line of coloring posters, postcards, canvases, and then along the way, I just got super crazy about shrink plastic. So it starts about this size, and then you create it out with colored pencil, and it comes to about this size. So that's the journey of how I'm doing some art. Now with everybody transitioning to home, I am really forging forward into art coaching. I'll take groups of people together, and I have a format, 12 weeks long, and I share with you how everybody can draw, and everybody has the ability to. You just have to learn some techniques, and I incorporate that in there. I pull from Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain. That's a wonderful, wonderful book. The Artist's Way. That was some things that I really made an impact in my life. In the Artist's Way, there are morning pages. There's journaling, which, okay, I'm going to go back to the power of words. The pen is mightier than the sword. So really helping people realize, what are they thinking? What are you saying? And is it what you want? You're getting, but is it really what you want to get? So that's that's the journey in a very short nutshell. I love taking these black and white images, and I have a series that I'm doing in coloring books. I have a coloring book out that's the Fruits of the Spirit. It's also a Bible study coloring book, and you can work your way through there. So I'll probably start publishing a lot more of those. The art piece behind me is super fun. Again, it started on a small postcard piece, and I went out to a real estate event, and it's in the back, and everybody works on it together. It's a collaboration. All my art is to be worked on together, because when that happens and you're working side by side with someone who often tells me, I can't draw a squiggle, but obviously they can draw a stick figure, but that's what they say. And they start creating with these paint sticks. They're about yay big and that long, and they're all paint inside. And they start creating and smearing and going with the art, and they're like, oh, I guess I can do this. And it's a real team building. I do a lot of company work where it's building people up and just instilling people that, like our guest before, if you don't think it's possible, it definitely is possible. So just really believing in yourself that you can do more than you really think. And everybody has this gifting inside, and it's our opportunity to figure out what that is, and that failing forward. I love that. It's a lot of roadblocks in New York City I came up with, and what am I doing? What am I going to do? And all of a sudden I get a revelation. Thank you, God, that, I was journaling. I walk out my door in the morning and be like, I ran into a person that I had just put down in my journal. Oh, I have to run into so-and-so, and out my door. And right there, I'm like, wow, it just really makes you think twice about what are you thinking, what are you saying, and what are you getting. So I guess that's about it on the journey part. Do you think you might have any questions for me?
Well, thank you for sharing your story, Debra.
Yeah. I know maybe it was a little quick. Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm curious. At what point did you realize visual art was your gift? Like, was it an outlet? Was it something that you were always passionate about, or did it happen overnight? What happened?
Okay, so I did a lot of it as a kid, and I got a minor in art in college. And I've always wanted to do art in my 20s before I really kind of dove into this. But I would sit there, all my art supplies out, and totally blank. Be like, what is happening here? So a passion of mine was great quotes and good cards. And in that time in my life, I could never find a card that I liked with a really good quote. So I guess that's where the cards came from, and the art, and it just kind of mushroomed into that. So it really, I tell you, after I get a revelation of the words and I pick up this pen brush, I'll show you this. It's a paintbrush in the form of a pen. So you can just go anywhere with this thing, and started traveling with this. And 20 years later, I cannot stop with the pen brush. And that's one of my key classes, is creating with this, because it also then becomes a meditation. And then I include God's word in that. And then it could be a revelation for them, for people. So
that's really cool. I kind of want to get a pen brush now. Cool. That looks like a lot of fun.
Absolutely. It's a lot of fun.
I find it curious, and I'm wondering. So, because as you were you saying you discovered the power of words, and I've had similar revelations myself. But I think it's intriguing that you're a visual artist, and it's like, why not a writer? Like, right. How do you merge the visual realm with the power of word?
Okay, great question. So I use a variety of art mediums. I have watercolor pencil, chalk pastel, oil pastel, and that's kind of the class of mine in this. So normally we're just writing, across the page. So I make people write things down, turn the paper, pick a word, pick something that is singing to them, and create with all these different art mediums together. And why the art? I guess that's just part of who I am. I always liked it. It kind of made sense in my brain. A lot of people are like, art and words, because you got to think, art is the right side. That's all visual. Words are the left side. So when I'm actually writing a piece, and you can see in these pieces that I have, I not only take that, I write little tiny words around the bigger images. So I have to go really, really slow to not misspell, because it's either one or the other. You're either writing or you're painting. You don't do them both at the same time. And that's the information that I got from drawing the right side of the brain. It's a really deep dive on what's happening in here. It's pretty phenomenal.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Also, yeah, that's also like a really powerful, like, to me, that shows the power of your imagination.
Absolutely.
And like that, I don't feel like that gets talked about enough in this world today. Is like, to me, imagination is creation. We can't create something until we imagine it, right?
Hmm.
And that's just not encouraged. So like, I'm wondering, in your classes, with the people, the classes that you do, like, what are some things that you have found useful in encouraging people to rekindle or reconnect with their imagination?
That's a great question. So I play instrumental music mostly, and our classes pretty quiet, honestly. And with that instrumental, it's usually praise music, instrumental praise, and I pray, and I just allow the Holy Spirit to come down and really harness that. And I tell you, 9 times out of 10, everybody's has a different word. Their pieces all are different, and everybody has an experience of their own. Like, those paint and sim parties when everybody comes out with the same thing and everybody's following the leader. This is really deep, and people do a deep dive on their piece because God is talking to them individually. So that's kind of where, that creative just flows through that right side, and it happens. It's almost unexpressible to words. That's why you need to join a class.
Yeah, I get that. Like, I had a really crazy experience. For a couple of years, I traveled with a woman who was practicing Sufi, and she does the prayers like 5 times a day, every day.
Mhm.
And I had never experienced that before, and so I had never, like, I started joining her on the prayers,
Mhm.
and every single time I grew to really love it, because it was this absolute complete reset. Like, the space that she held was just pure and non-judgmental and just whole, and like, I could feel that, but I didn't recognize that then. I
Right.
didn't recognize it until Ramadan, and we went to there's a Eid feast that they have,
Mhm.
and there was someone else that led the prayers, and there was just nothing. Like, there was just nothing, and it was this totally different experience from praying
Mhm.
with her.
Yeah.
And that, it blew me away. And so, like, I suspect that, like, what you're holding is something very similar to what she held, and that somehow, like, do you feel that just invites that creativity?
100% it translates. So here's the story on translating. So I love this story. We were in Muscle Beach, and I have those tight ropes, and I put them on bars, and all
Yeah.
those people are walking across. It's awesome. So I'm taking my daughter across, and it's like not easy. All of a sudden, this guy who is like a pro comes up, says, "May I?" And he takes her across. Well, I'm telling you, like butter. The confidence that was transferred down, she just walked right across. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. I guess I don't have that tightrope gifting, right? Right? But totally, I get it. I have the art gifting, but you hit it on the head with you giving people that confidence, that space. I know without a doubt, pulling out the best that's it within them in that class or moment in time. That's awesome.
Yes,
Um,
that was a really powerful thing for me to experience. And like, if you can hold that, I just feel like the invitation then is to continue to hold that all the time, not just in
yeah,
class, right?
right.
Always
Right.
invite it.
And then life happens, right?
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So I remember this one time how I got to be doing the bigger paintings is inspiration. I always tell my students, when's the last time you visited an art museum? So we spent a decade in New York. So me and my family went to the Met, and we're just walking through, and I see these large canvases, and I'm like, and it just, boom, it just hits you in the spot. Hey, let's have an art party. Because we had this tiny apartment, but long hallway space. So eventually my place got filled up with these 4 foot by 5 foot canvases. But the very first one was, again, a group effort. And it was actually a magazine cutout. Everybody had this huge, huge piece. And we just had a ball doing that. And then they got into the canvases that are black and white. And then we paint them. So definitely experiencing anything in the field that you want to go into, physically put yourself in there. So yeah, it's pretty impactful to experience that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I really I think it's beautiful, and it's amazing to see behind you, just this glowing painting behind. It's what I love about, I mean, for me, art is an access to beauty and wonder, and it I've used this example before, but it's like art points us to the beauty that we didn't even know could exist, like, and that's what creating activities, whatever type of, whether it's visual art, whether it's film, whether it's music, poetry, spoken word, art, the art that brings me out. It almost points me to a timeless space where I didn't even know beauty could exist in that way. I didn't even know I could feel that emotion. I didn't even know. And it's like art knocks us out of our story and it's so amazing, the role it has. When we get, when an artist can connect me, can stop time. Art really stops time, and it makes us just see beauty that we weren't even looking for. It was something that just came in our space. It's like, whoa, I didn't even know that could be. I didn't even know that could exist. And I love I see that art that has effect on me like that. And I love it. I really appreciate hearing your story and how you, and what brought you to share your art and your gift. And I'm so happy that you were here to share with us today. And I hope you'll come back and share some more with us soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being here. It's been a real pleasure hearing you share, hearing Dawn share.
Yeah.
Let's bring Dawn back here. Hi, Dawn. So I just wanted to thank you both again for having the courage and just contributing and sharing with us, because it really means so much to us. And it's so empowering to hear your stories and what brought you here, how you got to this point. And I'm so happy you were here, and I really appreciate our viewers, here with us. And I'm so happy you're here. But I just wanted to say thank you. And to the people viewing, if you at all would like to be like these amazing people, we want to hear your story. We want to hear you share. If you feel just an inkling, just a tiny bit of maybe, I suggest and encourage you to follow that intuition, because amazing things that happen when we are willing to share ourselves, and doors open, people show themselves to you. That we step out of fear and into love, and that's what this space is for. Is just to share who we are, so we can point ourselves and others to love. And I'm so grateful that you both were here today. One thing I will say about one day is it's not a future experience. It's not something that happens later. Like one day we'll be happy, or one day there will be peace, or one day this will happen or that'll happen. And one day is not a someday, maybe, but not now experience. It's right now. And that's what this movement is about. And that's what the space is. And it's the space of one day that we are creating the future that we see, that we are committed to, and we are standing for today. We're not waiting for it to happen. We choose it. And that's what this space is for. So I want to thank our guests again. And I guess I'll go out with saying, this is why we say at one day is today. Awesome. Thank you both so much for being here. I know we had some technical difficulties, and there's another kitty. This has been a really awesome share, and I really appreciate you being here. I look forward to having you both back, and thank you again for being here. I'm very, very appreciative of you being here. So we will see you next time. And to all our viewers, thank you so much for hanging with us. And we'll see you tomorrow. But have a wonderful rest of your day. And mahalo.
Aloha.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.